One of the things that you're going to really want to be proficient at is your picking. And I see a lot of students need some extra attention given to their picking. You want to be able to, make sure your right and left hands are tied together, and we're going to be getting into finger exercises, so you're hitting the right notes when you're picking the right strings, and you want to really be proficient at picking the strings and accurate. And it just takes a little bit of practice, but I see some very common mistakes or tweaks that we can do that really will give you a jump start on this and really make a difference in your picking. For the most part, what you want to be doing when you're playing your single notes and your lead guitars, I want you using alternate picking. All alternate picking for the most part. Maybe we'll get into a few licks where we can do economy picking. And what alternate picking, as you probably know, is everything is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Everything like that. All downs and ups. I don't want you to go down, 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 down and just using down picking. Alternate picking is going to take you the furthest, the fastest, for sure, for absolute sure. And then later, once you get yourself really tuned into the alternate picking, then we can go back maybe and do some economy picking. You could learn a little bit about that where you throw in like down, up, down, down, and another downstroke. But for the most part, everything's going to be ups and downs. The two most common things that I see students having issues with their picking is, one is the actual mechanics of the wrist when you're picking, and two is the way they're holding the pick to the strings. I hold the pick like this. All right, there's two most common ways of holding the pick, where you have your thumb kind of straight over the top and the point of the pick facing up, or some people hold the pick like this, more to the side, where the thumb comes over at this angle. There you see a look at that. Okay, both of those are the two most common ways of holding the pick. And a lot of students, I find, they're choked too far down on the pick. So choke up, all right? You don't want this little bitty part, but you don't want this huge section of pick. So when you're picking strings, when you're strumming, you could pull back on it. But for picking and lead playing, choke down a bit. The motion for picking is in the wrist. If you watch the best pickers out there, guys like Al Di Meola, Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen, and blues guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Robert Cray, I mean, you will notice that the picking motion is this. Okay? This is what the motion is in the wrist, not up here in the arm or the forearm. This is pretty much what you have to get used to. So that motion is this, not with the arm. The arm is used more for strumming. You want to strum away, we're using the arm. But picking is going to be in the wrist, and it's very economical movement. Not a lot of movement, but this is what you want to get used to. It's like from here forward. Okay, so you want to get used to this kind of motion of the wrist, right? So if I pick just an open A string really slow with all alternate picking, you could see that wrist motion on that camera, that you don't see me moving my arm. It's all in the wrist. And that's a mistake. A lot of students, I see too much arm movement with their picking, and it throws them off because they can't stay accurate. When your arm moves, your wrist has to move. So what happens is if you're moving your whole arm and you're trying to pick lines, it's going to put your hand in a different string position. So remember, the motion, I'm just muting the strings, very economical. So here's an exercise for you I want you to try. Just pick the open strings, okay? And just put your left hand right on the strings to mute them. We don't even have to play any fretted notes. And just remember, all alternate picking we're going to be using. So start on the low E and just downs and ups. And really work up the speed. Then go to the A string. Now that's the A open. There it is when I hold the string. And you want to get it smooth and even in the wrist and listening to the note. Now, if your pick starts to hang up and you start to get down, up, down, up, down, up, ooh, hangs up and it's not smooth, here's the second thing that I want you to work on. Most students, they pick with the same angle of the pick to the strings like when they're strumming. When you're strumming, You're taking the pick flat, and for the most part, up and down, flat. The angle of the pick to the strings, like if you look on the close-up, is flat. And you're coming down the strings when you strum. And most people do that when they pick. But I suggest to you, and what happens when you do that is the pick hangs up because of friction. So what we're going to do is you have the pick to the strings. I'm going to pull back so you can see this on the tight shot. I want you to angle the pick slightly. Slightly, not at a 90-degree angle, because then the note's not going to sound. You won't hear the note as well. But just take the pick and angle it. Now, I like to angle the pick up this way. Now, some of my students angle the pick down this way. You can do it either way, whatever way is comfortable. But it's just that little either flick of the thumb or turn over, and I want you to angle the pick, and this will allow you to cut right through. Now, if you look at that close-up now, you could see, here's straight on. The string, I'm on the A string. Here it is on the E string, on the A, on the D. You don't want to be straight on. See? I can't really pick as fast. And see, I got hung up there because it's just too much friction. So just take an angle, just that slight angle, like maybe 40 degrees, 35 degrees, 45 degrees. Angle that pick, and it slices through like a razor, like a laser beam. You'll be cutting it right through the strings. And if you notice in that tight shot, again, I'm not on a 90-degree angle. Just angled slightly makes all the difference in the world. So just go low E string, then go down to the A string, and just practice your picking. Now you could do this while you're watching TV, while you're waiting for something to download on your computer. You don't necessarily have to be sitting down entrenched in an hour-long practice routine giving this your full concentration. A lot of this is just getting comfortable with the mechanics. And just work down the open strings. D string, G string. Notice in between each note is the same amount of time. You don't want this in this exercise. You want to get it nice and smooth. It's going to take a little bit of time to get this, but you could do it. But the biggest thing that I see students is they're doing this with their arm, which you don't want to do, wrist, and angle that pick to the strings. And your picking is going to be so much improved fast. You won't believe how much these little tweaks, how much difference they make. And when you get to the finger exercises, which are coming up next, then you're going to start to use this in conjunction with fretting notes. If you want to do like an exercise fretting some notes, just to kind of get you a little bit playing something with a little bit more rhythm, with this, and again, remember, for all these exercises, alternate picking. I don't want you using all downstrokes. Alternate picking. Let's say we're going to play the G note on the D string on the 5th fret, and then we're going to play the A note on the 7th fret, just on the D string for now. So what I want you to do is pick that G string, and then try to pick the A string. But try to get a rhythm going, like ba da 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 da. Because once you get, practice on the open strings first, then go to this one. Because once you start playing the solos, like we're working on in the riffs, you're not going to be playing a lot of straight 8th notes or 16th notes. You're going to kind of play a little bit more rhythmically. So try to do something like. Now that's all alternate picking, and I'm just playing, I'm holding that G note in a rhythm. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of killing the note. I'm not doing this. So I'm just loosening pressure with my fretting finger after I hit it a few times. Loosen, loosen. When you loosen the pressure, don't take your finger all the way off the string. Just loosen the pressure, and that kind of kills the note, kind of like you're muting it. Try to get a little rhythm going. Try to get your head going a little bit. Get a little rhythmic, and this is the rhythmic playing that we're going to be doing more once you start your lead playing. And then just move that down like to the G string. A string. So just kind of noodle around like that really helps, because you want to get familiar with fretting notes while you're doing this and angling that pick. Again, look at that tight shot. That's what you want to try to work it up toward. Now, don't try to go hyperspeed at first. That's fine, nice and slow. Open A string. Really work on that wrist motion and really try angling that pick and choke down on the pick a little bit. All right? Get the picking down. It's so important. That's like your foundation. You got to be able to pick well and add this to your practice routines and practice it every day in front of the TV or whatnot, and you'll be all set. We'll see you in the next lesson.